guys, welcome back to the space. Or rather,
Sometimes I'm mystery, sometimes I'm free, depending on my mood or my attitude. Sometimes I wanna roll or stay at home, walking contradiction.
Hi guys, welcome back to my space. I am back with my, I think, sixth guest. Yes, I know I have been away for a while, but yes, we're back and back with good things. So today I have a beautiful, amazing woman here with me, and we're here to talk about a whole lot of things. But to narrow down the topics, we'll be talking about, dating as single moms, dealing with trauma, and missing your abuser, and what else are we talking about? Mental health and motherhood, and also about toxic females. Yes, so we'll give you our take on all these things, and I hope that you'll get something from all our banter. All right, let's get into it. So, first of all, please let's just look at how beautiful this woman. You know, when I started with, she's beautiful. You see it, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
So I will let her introduce herself, and then we'll get into the topics for the day. So hi.
Hi. So I'm Mama Jabali, or Agneta. I'm an events organizer and a mom, a single mom at that, and proudly one. Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the space.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start with motherhood and mental health, because that is like the basis of our topics today. So if you don't mind me asking, how old were you when you had Jabali?
I was 20, turning 21. I was still in campus, and I was in a relationship at that time. So in my head, I was set.
You were set.
Yeah, I was set for life. So later, about a year later, I decided to walk out of the relationship. One is because I went back to campus and I had to go to work, provide for this child, and it was taking a toll on me. And for me, that was just too much to handle, because you're 21, you're trying to figure out your life, your friends are out here having fun.
Living their best life.
Yeah, and it's the age where social media was starting to erupt. So you could see everything everyone is doing. And at that time, it just messed with my head. And I was like, you know what? It's time I walked away from this. And yeah, so I've been at it for about 8 years alone. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you having said that, this is the time where social media was erupting, and this really ties to mental health and what very many young people are struggling with. And then now you bring a baby into that, and you're young, you're in campus. Of course, you're first struggling with finding yourself. You've not found yourself yet. You're considered a child.
Yes.
And then you have this whole other human to take care of. And like you said, it messed with your head. So what was that like? Having to deal with the emotional repercussions, the mental, and even physical?
Well, for me, looking back, and it's a conversation I've had with some of my friends, I didn't know what postpartum depression is. And I had it. Now, looking back at it, I didn't think it was postpartum depression.
Yeah.
But I used to have these surges where I'd look at this baby and be like, oh my God, and not that I didn't love this child, I really did. And it was the best thing that happened to me. But at the same time, I just felt like my life has been cut short.
Yeah.
And people are having fun out there. And to me, it just didn't make any sense. Why did I have to get this child at this time? So it messes with your head. And the one thing I keep telling women is have your best life before having a child. You know, like
so true.
live your best life. Do whatever you have to do. Don't rush. Don't rush motherhood. It's not as easy as everyone makes it seem. It's not as fun as we post it to be.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Social media.
Yeah, it's social media.
Yeah.
We post photos with our kids and we're there smiling. But after those cameras are gone, you're now seated there alone thinking, what's next? What am I going to do? Things are not as they always seem, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not only about fun and all these things. It's basically about, are you in the right mental space to raise a child?
That's true.
Because so many people are not in the right mental space to raise a child. So we end up raising broken people. We ourselves are broken. Without the knowledge of it, we're raising more broken people. So at the end of the day, you have to decide, are you in the right mental space? Are you ready to have this child? Or do you still have some growing to do? So yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, sometimes even growing, people claim that, oh, I'm grown and so I am mature enough to have a child. But people don't realize that age has nothing to do with it.
No.
Maturity even has nothing to do with it. If in your head you're not okay, if your heart, your emotions are not in the right place, you will raise this child either being very bitter, because especially if you're young and you're thinking, okay, this is my child, I have a whole human to take care of, but I also want to go out with my girls.
True.
Or I want to date this guy, but this guy doesn't like the idea of children.
Yes.
And you're like, well, I'll compromise. I will date this guy, but then that can really mess you up because you're just thinking, okay, if I tell him that this weekend or this week I don't have a nanny, he'll leave.
Yeah.
And so you're juggling, you're maybe taking your kid to your mom's house or trying to look all over the place for a nanny or a babysitter just so that you can go hang out with this person. But anyway, we'll get to that in dating.
Yeah.
Dating and single motherhood. But how was it when you said you were with your, like, the father of your baby for a year after getting Jabali, and were you both stable, or one of you was struggling, or both of you were struggling with your mental health at the time?
Well, when I realized I was pregnant, I'd actually broken up with him the previous weekend. So that relationship was actually out the door.
Oh,
before the baby came in. So we had to get back together because you're pregnant.
Yeah.
I want this. And in my head, I was like, he really does. He's come back, so he really does want to settle. But what I'd forgotten was he wasn't going to change the aspects of him
that made you break up in the first place.
Well, that guy used to drink a lot. And growing up, I've seen men in my family drink so much, and that was the one thing I told myself I would never allow, you know. And for me, it was just a no-no, because I felt like, do I really want my child to see this life? Do I really want to raise a child in that environment? So in the beginning, I just told him, are you going to pay for my campus? Because that was the easiest way to just buy time.
Yeah.
So he was like, no, but and I told him I have to stay home. I have to stay home till I'm done with campus, and then probably we'll get married. Yeah. So I knew that would buy me a lot of time to decide if I still wanted to be with this guy or not. So eventually, I just broke it off. I broke it off, and I decided, you know what, it's time. I'm done. Done, and he wasn't having it. So yeah, I'll gladly say we were both not in the right mental space to raise a child, to be together. It was a relationship that was meant to be done a very long time, you know. But you know this thing people keep saying, oh, maybe God wants us to be together.
Yeah, because now there's a baby.
Yep. There's nothing
the
like
baby.
That.
I know.
It's so wrong, because most of the people settle down because of their child, not knowing you're actually hurting the
The
child,
child,
more than
exactly.
you're hurting yourself. You know. So for me, I don't condone that.
Yeah.
Don't stay with someone just because you're getting their child. It's not right. It's not healthy. Just let it go.
Yeah. And especially if it's a toxic environment
Exactly.
and you've seen the red flags and you know for a fact this person is not going to be good for you or your child, there's no need to push any further. And that is why, like, there are stories I read and someone is being beaten up or someone is being abused emotionally, but they're there because they're like, oh, I have a kid or kids with this person, and so I have to stay, I have to weather the storm. And lately there've been teenagers and young adults coming up and saying that this was my life when I was a kid, and my mom and dad used to fight a lot, and I used to see it because we underestimate what our children see.
True.
But they're very, very, very observant, and you'll find that they know when you're fighting, they know when you're unhappy, they know when you're not okay, and that in turn leads to trauma.
True.
As they're growing older and they're like, okay, so this is what happened to me. You see a child turning out, they don't want to date or they don't want to get married, they don't want to have kids because in their head they're just thinking, I don't want to be the parent that my parents were to me.
Yeah, because we all have an image of what a relationship should be. And it's basically based on what we grew up seeing.
Exactly.
Like, if my mom was probably in a toxic relationship, I will think that is what
it's
a
supposed to
relationship
be.
should be. Or if I'm a totally different person, I'll be like, I don't
That's
want
not what I
that
want. Yes.
for myself. Well, it takes, it's a very weighty topic, and I think people don't really think it through when choosing a partner, because people are like, I love him, he's all I need, and
he does this and this for
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
so
yeah.
bare minimum works.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
for me, it's about, are you happy? Are you really, really happy? Is it legit? Because you can tell. You can tell when someone actually makes you happy, like full time, not just half the time I'm happy, half the time, and then you have to give these excuses like it's not always perfect.
Yeah, which is
That is wrong.
and of course it's not, everything cannot be perfect. It's not perfection, but there's things you can live with,
Yeah.
and there's things you're just like, okay, why am I in this? And you have to be in the right state of mind, and especially now when you're raising a child. And I feel like I remember for me, I also had Okwe when I was what, 21. And I remember for me it was a sense of like, okay, I am in my third year, I have not finished school, what am I going to do? Luckily I had a supportive family, I still do.
Yeah.
But then for me, like, I stayed with my baby daddy for 4 years after that. So it was 4 years of, there was still a back and forth. And in my head, I think for the longest time, the way you're saying you're in a relationship, so you know this is it, you're good.
Yeah,
There's a baby, now the man is there, there's a baby. And so the only way this will end is in marriage.
Marriage,
Like,
yeah.
you don't see it going
You're just
any other
ticking
way.
the boxes, like,
you know?
I'm now in campus, I'm about to finish, so
Exactly.
yeah.
So I remember even when I went back to finish my undergrad, it took a toll on me, especially because I felt so alone. And as much as I didn't go with my son back to school, because I did my uni in Eldoret, so of course it wasn't making sense to go with him there with a nanny and all that.
Yeah.
Then, so I had to leave him at home, and I deferred a year actually. So I deferred a year and then went back to finish my 4th year. And it was one of those things I was like, what? You're sitting there, you feel this emptiness.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you don't know, and to date I still think I'm not sure exactly what postpartum depression is. It's, and the same thing as depression in general. You can be like, okay, I'm feeling low today. Tomorrow you wake up, you're okay.
Yeah.
But then there are those days it goes on for longer than it should. You're just in a funk and you can't explain it. And for me, that was me for a while. I can't say it was full blown postpartum depression, but I did have really bad days where I would sit and I'm just like, okay, what am I doing? I'm young. I'm not sure about this parenting thing. Like, am I doing the right thing? And you're always questioning if what you're doing is best for the child, if you're in a good place yourself, because I mean, you're a young woman who still wants to have fun, go out, do all these things, explore the world, but then there's this hindrance. And sometimes I feel like maybe that's how people end up hating their children. And it's not, by the way, and I would not blame anyone as much as it's a scary place to be, but it actually does happen because you're thinking, I want to live my life, but then there's this baby, and so that stops you from
living your best life.
Yeah, or what you think could be your best life. Because this baby could actually save you. Sometimes I know, not even sometimes, I know for a fact that me having a baby at the age that I did probably saved me from a lot.
Thank you. Me too.
A whole lot. And it's something that I came to appreciate later. At that time, I was just like, man, you look at him and you're like, wow. And I think because I went to campus far from home, I had that 1 year to just go wild, if anything. And because I didn't have my child with me, yes, we would talk, and I would come every month. I think I would come to Nairobi, but it was just one of those things. I'm like, there's that freedom, and it was exciting. But when I came back, I realized, okay, you know what? This child is here. He's not going anywhere. He's not, and I have to actually accept. I think the fact that I had that year away when I was in uni for my last year somehow helped me, because I feel like if I was here, I would have gone into a proper depression.
Well, there's something about having a young child and being in campus at the same time. It just, I don't know how other people handle it, but for me, I felt like there was so much pressure. You're in campus, everyone is trying to get you to go out. Let's go out for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember, because I went back to campus when Jabali was about 4 months. Jabali is my son. So I went back to campus when Jabali was 4 months old. I remember one weekend, guys from my class were like, hey, let's go out. And for those who don't know, when you're breastfeeding and you haven't breastfed for a whole day,
Yes.
everything is a mess.
Yeah.
And no amount of padding will help you at
Yeah.
that. So I started staining my dress, and I got so uncomfortable, and I started crying, and I was like, oh, why? Like, for
is
once,
my life.
yeah, like, I really want to hang out with my friends, but I can't hang out with my friends because I have to go home and feed someone. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's just how our bodies are made. So I remember crying, and it was just, it wasn't one of those cries you're like, oh, I just want to, it's full blown, like, I can't take this anymore. I want out, and I really want out. And the other thing is, my labor was very, it was intense, because I got a very big baby, and I wasn't prepared. And in my heart of hearts, I knew, like, my soul kept that can nudge, like, no, don't have this baby no more. So I went to the hospital and I told the doctors I want to have a cesarean. So doctors go like, no, you're too young. If anything, we'd want you to have the baby normal. So I go for a normal delivery, and the baby turns out to be 4.2.
What?
Yes.
Lord.
And I don't know if you guys have an idea of what a 4.2 kg baby.
Just go tap 4 kgs of
And at that point, I was about 52 kgs. I was very tiny. And I'm very short. So, and you know, there's a stereotype about short women and if you're not wide at the hips. So when this baby came, things were not right. And that first night he wasn't breathing, everything was just in shambles because he was too tired. And just before I went to the delivery room, I blacked out for like 2-3 hours. And it's normal because my blood sugar was very low. So the baby was tired, I was tired. So when he came out, he wasn't breathing. So, and you know, when you're pregnant, there's this thing we do. We watch every documentary there is about giving birth and what happens. So I'm like, hold up, this baby is not crying. And I'm like, is he dead? What's happening? And then everyone in the delivery room starts panicking. And I'm like,
and when the doctors are panicking,
and I'm like, everyone else is panicking. What am I supposed to do? So the lady, are they called midwives?
Yeah, the midwife.
She's trying to talk me out of trying to notice things are not going right. And I'm like, please tell me what's happening. She's like, no, everything is okay. So when I see them rolling the oxygen tank, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So because of having the baby normally, I had a very big tear. And because of them focusing on the baby, a part of me wasn't sewn properly. Yes. So it was double the pain. So we stay in hospital for a few days and then we go home. And then we get home and I'm still in pain and a week goes by, 2 weeks go by and I'm like, because I was living with my mom. She was very supportive all through. So I tell her, Mom, I feel like there's something that's not right. And she goes like, okay, let's go to hospital. Then they go to check and I have a big fistula, like a part of my body wasn't sewn. So I'm like, okay, so what does this entail? The doctor goes like, we'll have to sew you up, but we can't put you down because you're still breastfeeding, you haven't expressed any milk, so we'll give you local anesthesia and then sew you up. And this story really gets to me because they sew me up and I went home that day. And I remember the baby started crying because now he was hungry and he wanted to suckle. And my mom came to give me the baby and I was like, I'll throw that baby away. That's how bad postpartum depression is. And most of the people don't talk about it, but it gets to that point. It gets to a point where you feel like, I don't want this child. Move this child away from me. So I keep telling people, you really don't know. People are not in their right mental health, especially if you've gone through labor and you've gone through the delivery process and then you decide, I'm throwing this baby away. There's probably part of them that's been pushed to that point and they're not in their right mind frame to want to be with this child. And it's not that they don't love this child, it's just that they feel this child is associated with so much pain,
the trauma and the pain
in their life. So luckily enough, I got well and I had little fits. Looking back, I had fits of anger towards the child. And at this point I was still with the dad. But it was, I think, due to the pain I went through, and I didn't relate it to anything else. I was like, the first night was very stressful. I thought this child was dead. We had to stay in hospital because he had to be incubated. And he was a very healthy child. Because everyone was like, wow. Like, you go into the incubator room and everyone is like, whose child is this and what are they doing here? Because if you look at these other kids, they're very tiny. And Jabali was filling the incubator wall to wall. Like,
because
there was no space. And everyone is looking at them like, what is this kid doing here? And the worst thing is, the last day when we were leaving hospital, I remember the doctor telling me, we just want to give you a word of caution. He might not be 100%. In this case, he might develop cerebral palsy. So in my head, I'm calculating all this. I have had fistula, I've had a baby, big baby. So he's going to have cerebral palsy. There's a guy out here who's stressing me out. And all this on a 21-year-old who's just a baby in themselves was just horrible. It was horrible. But it taught me a lot. It taught me how to be strong. I won't lie, there's a part of me that's really scared about having another
Another
child, you know, and I sit
I
there
feel you.
and I'll probably start dating a guy and he'll be like, oh, I want another child, and I'll be like, okay, and when is this, you know? But there's just things that happen, and we can't control everything in life, but there are lessons we learn, there are things, and looking back, I wish I'd handled some things differently. Like that part where I said I'd throw away the baby, that really hurts me. I keep saying it every day, and my mom is like, no, you didn't mean it. We know you didn't mean it. But it just, you look back at such things and you're like, postpartum depression is real. And if people didn't talk about it, I would have never known I went through it. You know, like I'd have thought, maybe I'm just a selfish person who thinks this child has put me through a lot. But there's just that part where people leave out that we are humans, mothers are humans to begin with. We feel the pain, we feel the emotions, we run through emotions. When you get this child, you don't know what to feel. And every mother has an expectation in their head of what they think motherhood should be.
Childbirth and pregnancy.
So it's only human that you find women are going through these things, and we should learn how to just pull them closer and learn to listen, you know, learn to listen. People cry out here, you know, you're breastfeeding and you're crying. It's painful to breastfeed. It's not fun and games, you know. It's actually one of the most painful.
Nipples, the baby's hungry.
Exactly, and you have to feed them, and I think we should be a bit kinder to moms, especially new moms.
Doesn't matter the age, by the way.
Yeah, age doesn't matter.
Because you meet someone who's in their 30s and has gone through deep postpartum depression, and you meet someone who's in their 20s and they're okay, or vice versa.
True.
And sorry, your story.
No.
You know. Wow.
No, some scars are worthwhile. Some scars are worthwhile.
Okay.
So, but
you all know I'm very emotional, and so I think this has just